hearty welcome to all the participants for the 11th day professional development program on the recent trends in commerce. On the 11th day in the recent trends in commerce. So today we have the topic chosen as the HR analytics for organizational excellence. The HR profession, both before the COVID and after the COVID, it has got a tremendous change which we have undergone, and even the perceptions of the HR or the work culture has completely undergone a very milestone changes. So we have expert speaker from Hyderabad who will be enlightening us on the HR analytics and the HR perceptions in the post-COVID era and the way forward. We have a keynote speaker, Dr. A. Shekhar. So let us commence today's proceedings with the prayer, the Institute anthem followed by the college prayers.
असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मामृतं गमया मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मामृतं गमया असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मामृतं गमया ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। वन्दामहे श्रीमदाण्डवन् पादुकाङ्कम् श्रीरङ्गक्षेत्रपवित्रोज्ज्वलपारिजातम् यत्र मानवाः सर्वे सन्मार्गदर्शिताः नित्यं पठन्ति ते विज्ञानकलाभाषाः पाठातिरिक्तविषयेऽपि प्रवृत्तास्ते सुशीलगुणावपि अनुचरन्ति नित्यम् नानाकलाक्रीडेष्वपि सुशोभिताः सर्वत्र सर्वदा ते आत्मप्रभावैः ओषधिवने स्थापित प्रयोगशालासु सम्यक् प्रकाशयन्ति ते स्वप्रभावम् अत्रैवाधीतयन्त्रविद्यासु निपुणास्ते विदेशेऽपि उज्ज्वालयन्ति शालाप्रभावम्।
सत्यव्रतं सत्यपरं त्रिसत्यं सत्यस्य योनिं निहितं च सत्ये सत्यस्य सत्यं ऋतसत्यनेत्रं सत्यात्मकं त्वां शरणं प्रपन्नाः वाणी गुणानुकथने श्रवणो कथायां हस्तौ च कर्मसु मनस्तव पादयोर्नः स्मृत्यां शिरस्तव निवास जगत्प्रणामे दृष्टिः सतां दर्शनेस्तु भवत्तनूनाम् नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णायाद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनामविभेदेन जगत्क्रीडति यो यतः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Yeah, that was a very graceful prayer. I now request my colleague Dr. M. Akila, Assistant Professor, Postgraduate and Research, Department of Commerce, Advisor and Head, the Department of Finance and Taxation, Dwaraka Das Goverdhan Vaishnav College, to welcome the gathering.
Jai Krishna, happy noon to all of you. Rakesh sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, a very happy noon to all of you. So it's my pleasant duty to bid you all a very gracious welcome. So before we formally move into the session, I will be failing in my duty if I don't remember and give my pranams and respect to the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, on his birthday. And by the way, I'm Dr. Akila, Assistant Professor, Postgraduate and Research, Department of Commerce. So it is indeed my honor and pleasure to welcome the keynote speaker for today's session, Dr. S. Shekhar, Principal, Meenakshi Ramaswamy College of Arts and Science and Member Syndicate of Bharatiyar University. A warm welcome to you, sir. Eagerly awaiting for your session. Welcome you, sir. Thank you. And now I would like to welcome CMA B.M. Gupta, Chief Taxologist, Hyderabad, for the session, for enlightening and fruitful session, sir. And I would also like to welcome the coordinators of today's session, Dr. R. Bhuvaneshwari, Assistant Professor, Postgraduate and Research, Department of Commerce, Sri Andavan Arts and Science College, and also Dr. R. Bharati, Assistant Professor, Postgraduate and Research, Department of Commerce, Sri Andavan Arts and Science College. We welcome you both, and also we for your kind support and coordinating this session, ma'am. And I would also welcome Rakesh Shankar sir, who gave me this opportunity for attending and also delivering this welcome speech. Last but not the least, the participants of today's session, I welcome you all for the session. Have a great time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
For the welcome. It's now time to know about our guest, senior academician and a seasoned professional today. I now request Dr. R. Bhuvaneshwari, Assistant Professor, Srimad Andavan Arts and Science College, to introduce our guest and the resource person to the August gathering.
Audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Respected dignitaries, program organizer, and my dear friends, good evening to you all. It gives us a great pleasure to introduce our today's keynote speaker, an eminent Professor Dr. S. Shekhar, Principal and Research Advisor of Meenakshi Ramaswamy Arts and Science College, Tathanur. He has completed PG degree of Commerce in ABC College, Mayiladuthurai, PG degree of Management in Annamalai University, Chidambaram, Master of Philosophy and Doctorate of Commerce in Bharatdasan University, Tiruchirappalli. He is specialized in the areas of HR, marketing, and finance. He is working in higher education field for more than 38 years. He worked as the head of the department in 12 years and UDC in the period of 1998 to 2010, and also he is worked as the principal in 6 years the same college in the period of 2010 to 16. He has produced 76 MPhil graduates and 25 PhD degree holders. He acts as the journal reviewer for the journal retired as Interdisciplinary Research Journal, published by St. Joseph College, Tiruchirappalli. He has published 12 articles in various international journals and 34 articles in various national journals. He delivered more than 40 lectures in the conference and seminars. Sir is a watershed personality in the academic community. In addition to the above, he served as inspection committee member, chairman, syndicate member in the various committees in the jurisdiction of Bharadasa University and other universities. He served as PhD adjudicator for more than 10 candidates in various universities. Such as eminent personalities being with us today. Welcome, sir. We are eagerly waiting to hear your words in our program. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Ah, Thank you, sir. It is
Thank
the
you.
time to introduce today's resource person, CMA Bohavalli Mallikarjuna Gupta. His qualified online proficiency in the areas of taxation, GST, product management, sales, operations, marketing, finance, accounting, costing, project accounting, ERP, and BA implementation. He worked for Oracle Info, Logo System, and a Tempo Group in the multiple verticals and geographical. Presently, he is acting as management consultant of VCFO and GST, and he is the founder of Come2 and startup in compliance profiling of business partners. He is actively participating as a member in many concerns like GST, Grievance Redressal Committee Telangana, expert member for Technology Development Fixer Scheme of PRDO, GST and Customs Committee at Federation of Telangana Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He acted as the research person in Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Regional Training Institute, STAC Auditors, National Academy of Customs, Indirect Taxes and Narratives, Indian Navy and National Institute for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. He is the title holder in the Guinness World Records as a team member for the most people running up a single mountain. He achieved various fields like website, masterclass on GST. He authorized various articles and blogs on GST, MES, finance and economy are published in leading newspapers, magazines, ICAI, tax bulletin, portals, etc. He completed 22-time half marathons and 2 ultra marathons about 75 kilometers and 50 kilometers respectively. So, welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for giving this opportunity for me. Welcome to all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have really wonderful personalities today to grace the occasion. It's now time for the keynote speaker to address us. Over to Dr. S. Shekhar for his keynote address.
So, very pleasant good evening to one and all gathered here. The most respected principal, vice principal and chairman of PDP, and today's chief guest Gupta Garu, and members from ICA, faculties from Srimad Andavan Science and Arts College, and DG Vaishnav College. Once again, I convey my greetings today. So I'm sure that today is a special day because of 4 reasons. Number 1, we are celebrating 153rd birthday of our Gandhiji, father of our nation. Second one, we are celebrating 117th birthday of Lal Bahadur Shastri, second Prime Minister of India. Third one, we are saluting for Mr. Kamarajar for his 46th death anniversary. Above all, fourth is our program, 11th day program. We are celebrating PDP for 14 days. 11th day is a special day. So in fact, and I am extremely happy and thankful to all the organizers, authorities for organizing this 14 days program in the title what is called recent program joint program of 3 institutions. Number 1, ICA, Institute of Cost Accountants of India. Number 2, PG and knowledge. Vaishnav. You see, this program consists 14 days, starting from 22nd September 2021 to 5th. One started with Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, and a machine learning business. And it is going to be ended on 14th day with the digital banking. Forward. And we are eagerly waiting Mr. Garuji for his contribution towards GST, for his contribution to various things academically after a qualified academic person. And I am happy to note here, and he is participating all the marathons regularly in Telangana state. So happy, sir, and extremely happy. Probably that will be motivating you to frame so many policies and decisions for the development of Telangana. In addition, all the states in India. And I am extremely happy in meeting you at this forum. So you are here today to take a title or topic, what is called HR Analytics for Effective Organizational Excellence. You see, for any organization, we need effective organizational excellence. That is possible. That is possible because of human resources. So without human resources, that excellence in any organization, whether it is in the form of education, whether in the form of business or any institute, without the contribution of the human resources, nothing will be happened. In that respect, and human HR analytics, human resource analytics is not a new venture. It is a venture. It was started even before 3 decades ago. But it is the time for people like you, experts, bringing to the practice to all the industries and institutions. And here, when we talk about HR analytics, before 3 decades, before 2 decades, when we talk about human resources, we are talking about employees. We are talking about employers. This relationship we are talking, and those days human resources will be treated as only expense. Now human resources are taken as assets. In that angle, from that human resources, since managements, since organizations, since all the people are considering that as assets, they are expecting some return on investment, and that is we are seeing now from the human resources. In fact, the employee relationship, for which it should be continuous in nature, you should have some kind of cool relationship. All kind of privileges should be given to employees to enable them to work more, to have work ethics, to involve themselves with sincerity, dedication, involvement, interest, above all, honest. Now, it has been the practice followed by most of the companies, what is called hire and fire policy. Here, fire policy means thrown out at any time. Fire policy means thrown out any time. Hire policy means getting into people, getting employees into the folder of industry or institution. Here, in case of hire policy, in this, all these I have told you, sincerity, dedication, hard work, involvement, interest, and honesty should be there. If these things are present, definitely there won't be any fire. There won't be any fire, and 100% retention possible in the same institution. Here, you might have heard what is called Hawthorne experiment. So when we talk about Hawthorne experiments, the explanation gives like this. Work environment changes because of the employee's motivation. Here, when environment changes, employees automatically tended to motivation. With this, Hawthorne experiment was started, and employee morale, employees' motivation, and all these are being measured. Initially, there was a question whether human resources are measurable. Yes, it is possible now to measure effectively and efficiently to enable to get talent acquisition people. Now, when people are employees or your students or any section of the society, when talents are there, definitely HR measurement will be the criteria to take your talents, to take your personality, and because of your contribution, the industry will grow, the states will grow, overall the country will grow. Here, when I touch upon the words or views of John Sullivan, he says like this: tangible impact of business performance from human resource. Tangible impact of business performance from human resource and policies and practices, that is only possible through one sigma, that is called standard deviation. Mostly for this statistical tool, and we need a time to explain all this one sigma, what is called through standard deviation. Here, there is another thing, what is called employee customer profit change. Employee customer profit change. When employees' behavior are positive, customers really happy. Our customers habitual to us happy. It helps the customers to keep cool. That results improve the ability to sell even higher valued machines. So what it says, when employees are good, when employees are too good, when employees are highly involved with themselves, definitely they can easily satisfy the customers. When they can easily satisfy the customers, revenue generated through which all yields be possible because of the human resources. So one survey reveals like this: 5% of employee attitude. 5% of employee attitude increases that delivers 1.3 customer satisfaction, and that converts 0.5% of what is called revenue growth. I repeat once again, 5% increase in employee attitude delivers 1.3 customer satisfaction, which converts 0.5% revenue growth. To take one example from my own angle, and when I bought what is called Nexa car from this showroom, I was the first person to took what is called first diesel car in entire Tiruchirappalli. In that, I am proud to say the employees of that particular Nexa shop was very good, and that motivated me, and I got satisfaction through my reference. Most of the cars being sold by the Nexa showroom. So this is one example that is being proved by with my own what is called behavior and attitude. 5%, 1.3%, and 0.5%. Here nowadays, and human resources should have good quality in all the angles. Unless they keep cool, unless they get more experience, they cannot switch over to others. Here in the hire and fire policy, when after getting experience through training and development, through some workers' participation management, after getting this kind of experience, it is possible for the people concerned, it is possible for the employees to move from one place to another place. So experience should have some quality. What do you mean by quality? Quality is the expectations. Quality is the expectations of particular things beyond which a person should be given. In this case, when employer expects a certain percentage of quality from employees, and the employees will be ready towards giving more and more inputs to enable these inputs are converted into outputs. At this juncture, I am extremely happy in giving preamble about HR analytics. When we talk about analytics, it is nothing but measurement of behavior, measurement of attitude, measurement of all the what is called productivity. So, and everything being possible, and when quality products being produced, that is because of the quality resource persons, what is called quality human resources, that leads to more revenue to the company, that will be helpful to all the stakeholders, namely social responsibility business, to our shareholders, to the employers, to the what is called employees, and above all, to the nation. So with this, I am extremely happy in giving my note address, what is called keynote address, simply to enable our chief guest today, CMA Bhogavalli Mallikarjuna Gupta, cost accountant, management accountant, master of financial management, financial experts, computer science expert, GST expert, and we are eagerly expecting your lecture towards what is called HR analytics. Before that, one appeal to this GST expert. One appeal to this GST expert, Mr. Gupta. I don't know this is the appropriate forum, but however, I want to tell one thing to you related to GST. Here, you know well, and universities are doing educational service. All affiliated colleges are doing education service. If this will be the case, GST is levied on the amount paid by the institutions and amount paid by the universities. And when chance permits, I request you, I appeal you, Gupta Garu, to take this issue. I want, it is possible by a person like Gupta Garu, that a person from Telangana, it is possible to remove GST practices followed by universities and what is called colleges. In fact, school educations are exempted. In fact, school educations are exempted from GST. It is for your perusal. And with this request, user, I am extremely happy in presenting my keynote address, just taking 15 minutes and about this. And I am sure today's session, 11th day session, given by Mr. Tax expert, tax consultant, taxologist, Mr. Gupta Garu, will be definitely useful for us. And I am extremely thankful for the management for giving this wonderful opportunity to share to some of my views at this forum. Thank you very much. We will meet again and again in other forums like this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gupta Garu. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful keynote address. You have highlighted on the importance of the human resources and the HR analytics, how to measure it. And the point what you said on the GST aspect, yes, we do feel a pinch of it, where the fees and other things are exempted from GST, but whatever fees the college pays to the university in the form of affiliation fees and the inspection fees, that is being covered under GST, and the amount is very huge. What you have brought out is a valid point. I'm sure BM Gupta will look into the issue and raise it appropriate issues, which will benefit the student and the teacher community at large. Now it is time for our Guptaji to deliver his resourceful and an insightful lecture. Over to CMA BM Gupta.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. And thank you, Shekhar, sir, for such kind words on me. And this point, what you have raised on GST is already on my radar. I'm working on that. And I'll prepare a small concept note. Maybe you can get it along with Rakesh ji. Once it is finalized, we can share it with the GST Council. Because this is going to help the nation as a whole rather than an individual. I believe in that. That point is well noted, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Yeah. And the keynote speaker has really put the forum in such a way that what I need to speak and what we need to cover in a very lucid and in a very professional manner. So without wasting much time, let me get into the topic. And discuss on or share my views on HR analytics for organizational excellence. Uh, Ravi Shankar ji, Rakesh ji, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So here I will discuss basically on the HR analytics and how it is impacting the organization, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and what is the likely scenario down the line in the organizations, and when new students as HR professionals join the organization, what are the challenges you'll be facing, how to address them, and be a successful professional in your career. And I always believe in this statement. And in today's world, it is 100% reality. Until unless we change and adopt to the new things, we cannot survive, especially in a pandemic like situation like COVID, what we are all facing today. So it is a very simple statement. But today, if you see in a management jargons or in the startup ecosystem, what we call it as pivoting. Pivoting is nothing but taking a D-turn from the regular business and ensuring that business is growing with new line of business. And similarly, change is need of the hour in professional life also. Now, if you see here, the Darwin theory or whatever you call it here, the human being has evolved from ape. Of course, we hear the word as evolved, but he has transformed or changed to a human being where he is putting his skill set, mind, that is thinking process, and doing for the welfare of the society. Similarly, the role of HR has taken a lot of change. In the early 1900s, the HR's job was only operational in nature. Whether we need to hire people, whom we should hire, conducting interviews, onboarding them, dispersing their paychecks. In early 2000s, there is a shift and it has become a strategic HR basically. So the things have changed. That's where the IT revolution has started, and people started thinking the organization, whether do we need to have employees on our payroll, or do we need to outsource, or do we need to recruit temporary employees so that we can complete the projects and then take it forward without having any burden on the P&L of the organization. So that is where the shift has happened from the operational side to the strategic side. And as on date, it is even more bigger change actually. Before the analytics or data being in place, the decisions taken in the organization are purely based on the gut feeling. They're never backed by any scientific data or analysis. Virtue of experience, people were running the organizations. And that was successful to a large extent. The sixth sense, what we call. The HR teams have the sixth sense. The moment you go for an interview room, they can easily identify whether you are lying or whether you are telling the correct facts about your career and your background. And today with the technology in place, wherever we have this ATS, where people are using artificial intelligence in the ATS, imagine. ATS is one thing and artificial intelligence. And this artificial intelligence is collecting the data from various resumes it is being uploaded. It will tell based on the wordings given by the employee or the prospect, what is his attitude, what is his skill set, is he going to stick with us for a certain period of time. And there are certain algorithms written in some of the softwares which I have seen it. They're clearly telling to how many years or to what extent or how long the employee is going to stick with the organization. So all this is driven based on data which is derived from the resumes which are uploaded into the ATS systems in the organizations. That is one portion of it. The role of HR does not end there. Because as you all know that in the organization or in the management, the four MEMs of management, men, material, then marketing and money. Of course, it is machines, but I call it as marketing today. If an organization has to be successful, I am replacing machine with marketing. Yeah, I have a good product, but if I'm not able to market, it is a disaster for me. So machines are integral part of the organization, no doubt in that. So that is why I replaced and I have shared on my experience machines with marketing. Now the first M is my men. That is nothing but employees. Employees which are overseen or supervised by the line managers. But again, the cross function of HR comes into picture there. As the sir has rightly pointed out, the attitude of the employee counts a lot. In one of the organizations where I have worked recently, the motto of the company is very simple, and I really liked it and appreciated it basically. And it says that employee first and customer second. And third comes the management or the promoter, whatever you call it. So that shows the focus the organizations are doing in today's world to retain talent and keep them very happy. And once the attitude improves, customer satisfaction improves. Once customer satisfaction improves, your profitability increases basically. Your bottom lines will shoot up like anything. For all these things to happen, we are doing decision making in a structured manner using data with the help of analytics. That is what we are going to discuss here. Now, if I talk to any HR people in any organization, these are some of the questions which are there in their minds basically. The moment I get a request for a candidate, how fast I can fill it? How do I ensure that my cost of recruitment is less? How do I ensure that I retain the talent? How do I ensure that I get best of the employees in the organization, to the organization rather? And how do I minimize the cost of recruitment? The cost of recruitment can be in many ways basically. Large organizations have their HR teams and they have to scan the resumes, shortlist it, call for interviews, then give it to the hiring manager. They do the interview and then goes to the final round. With organizations growing leaps and bounds geographically, it becomes a challenge on the HR side to these job basically. They outsource it. When they outsource it, again there are two types here basically. Contract staffing is there. Other one is an agency is appointed and then they shortlist the resumes and then they give it to the hiring managers. This is minimizing the time, but at the same time it is increasing the cost. Normally these placement agencies or the HR companies who give resumes to the companies basically, organizations, they charge anything between 10 to 20% of the salaries. So that is a cost basically. Now today's world, every organization is viewing every department as a profit center rather than a cost center. Gone are the days when companies used to treat HR as a cost center. Now they're treating them as a profit center. So the moment if it is treated as a profit center, things are totally different here basically. So this is how things are changing a lot, and especially with the pandemic, employees are working from home. Their interactions are minimized. Everything has to be communicated through the email or the e-learning platforms or the conference platforms. Monitoring is becoming a challenge. When there is no close monitoring, unethical practices comes into picture. In a recent discussion I had one of the senior management of an organization. An employee is working for multiple organizations. How unethical it is. He is drawing salary from multiple companies. One instance has come to our notice where that person is drawing salaries from 5 different companies basically. Now, how do we curtail that? From a management perspective, the things will be even a different ball game. Because the privacy or the data protection is also key. If an employee is working for multiple organizations, there is a high possibility of data leakages. The proprietary data which the employer has, the organization has it, gets into the wrong hands. It may not be intentional. So these are the questions which are boggling or disturbing the HR professionals as on date. Especially in the IT sector, I have seen it recently. The salaries have gone up almost 3x, 5x also basically. And the biggest challenge is people are taking offers and no shows are happening basically. How to tackle that? These are some of the questions which every HR professional is having as on date at whatever capacity he is in the HR department of the organization. And the answer for this could be analytics. Please listen to my words, could be, but in fact, analytics plays a key role here basically. How it plays, we will discuss it in the subsequent session, in the subsequent slides. And what is HR analytics? It is given very simple definition. As per Gartner's definition. So the decisions which are coming is again based on data. And once you have data, you can take decisions in a more structured manner. I'll give you one of my small experiences which I had it when I was working with a steel plant in Goa. This is almost 2 decades back. That point of time, you can imagine where digitalization or computerization is in nascent stages. I was handling the finance and costing division in that organization, and I prepared certain analytical data basically. And that data is what we used to prepare. I've gone 2 steps ahead and prepared the profitability. So we had a profitability matrix which talks about profit per ton. But as a cost accountant and as a management accountant, I had a different role to play there. So what I did was, using analytics, I started giving profitability per ton by dealer. See, I have narrowed down basically. That means which dealer is giving me more profit, or which region is giving me more profit. Then I took one more step further, and based on the input-output ratio, the key materials I've identified for a pig iron plant basically, and based on the supplier's input, what is my profitability. A mix of these two we have designed, and the marketing strategy gave us beautiful results basically. Same efforts, but in a concentrated manner. That is the beauty of data-driven decision making. And if I need to do that, we need to have data. And in HR department, like any other organizations or the initial days of digitalization or computerization, there is lack of data. When I was doing this activity 2 decades back, There was no Microsoft Excel, the way what we have features now here basically. It's a very primitive stage. We hardly had 4 computers in the organization, and employees used to take turns to use them basically. So I need to get data from various systems, collate them, and then do my analysis. And literally it used to take me a couple of days. But today with the BI, it is a cakewalk. I can do slicing and dicing on a fingertip basically, on a click of a mouse. So today the HR is also in the same status because of the lack of data. And HR analytics helps the organizations to be more effective and professional in these 3 areas. One is hiring and the recruitment process, performance management and talent management, and then in employee engagement. And if you see these 3 steps or the 3 processes or the divisions, whatever we call it, that is precisely the role which is entrusted to a HR professional in the organization. That means all the activities which an HR person is doing in the organization is or can be used in the implementation of analytics there. And if we want to implement HR analytics in the organization very effectively, these are the 4 fundamental steps which it has to be taken care, and if it does not happen, then it becomes a big challenge. Today we are having this program, 14-day program. Why it is successful? Because the management has given their blessings to the organizers basically. When they come up with the idea, if the management shoots down, then it's going into the drains. But if the management says, please go ahead and do it so that the students learn a lot and it will help in their career. That is where we require the management blessings for events like this, knowledge sharing platforms where people from industry coming and exchanging their views straight away with the students and faculty. Same way, if an organization has to implement HR analytics, the leadership team or the management needs to be taken to conference. The HR has to tell these are the benefits which are going to be derived in the organization. And there is a transition happening in the ecosystems of the business, in the ecosystem of the organization, and within the organization, the change is happening in the HR role also basically. So it becomes very next to impossible or tough to convince the management for rollout of analytics in HR. If you ask the same leadership team for analytics in SCM or in the sales side, they're ready to give it. But when it comes to the HR, a lot of questions will be asked. So the HR professional has to be thoroughly prepared to convince the management. In the startup community, we call it something called elevator pitch. So what is this elevator pitch? The startups have to convince the investors within 60 seconds. The attention of a human span or a human is not more than 60 to 180 seconds. If you're able to convince the other party sitting across the table within 60 seconds, the deal is with you. So the elevator pitch has to be very effective. Within 60 seconds, the whole concept of HR analytics has to be explained to the leadership team. That means the person who is taking to the leadership team has to be thoroughly confident of the HR analytics, how it is going to be implemented, what is the cost of it, what is the ROI for that, and what is the time required, and what is the budget required for that. Then comes, once it is approved, then budgets will be automatically in place. Then the biggest challenge which organizations face today is in-house team is not sufficient. So either they have to keep dedicated team members there, or they have to hire outside consultants to implement it and roll out it. And then support from the cross-functional teams is also required, because they has to get support from the production manager, from the delivery manager, from the sales manager, or the sales department, the finance department, every areas basically. So the cross-functional team support is also required for successful implementation of HR analytics. And how do we implement it? The first and the foremost is defining the matrices basically, matrix. What we want to implement it. What is the business problem which this analytic solution, I can use it to resolve that challenge for me. Once I'm clear with that problem, then I can take it forward. When I say defining the matrix, it has to take care of these three elements basically. Efficiency, effectiveness, and compliances basically. Now the biggest challenge comes is for a HR professional. What are the areas which needs to be addressed first? That prioritization has to be done. Based on that only it will be effectively implemented. Now how do we do that? I've just given a small matrix here basically. A 10-point agenda, I've taken it randomly. Effort. What is the time and effort which is required for me? And how it is going to impact the organization. So I prepared the matrix and then I need to prioritize it basically. Because I cannot take all these 10 elements in one go basically. Effectiveness of campus hiring. On a piece of paper, this looks very stupid, but it has a huge impact on the organization. Why effectiveness of campus hiring is important? Simple reason. If your college invites my organization to come and recruit students from there into my organization as employees, for my organization it is a cost. It has both direct cost and indirect cost. I need to depute my HR team there. Travel cost is there for me because they're spending the time there. They cannot do the routine activities in the office. That is my indirect cost. Number 3, they may be spending 3 days or 4 days and they will be issuing say 600 offer letters. Once they issue 600 offer letters, how many students are joining? So cost of each offer letter has to be ascertained by me. Say suppose I spent 6 lakh of rupees for issuing 600 offer letters. 6 lakhs divided by 600 straight away. Okay. But as a management person, I will say, why are you taking the denominator as only the offer letters issued? Why don't you take number of offers accepted? See, the goalpost is changing now here. Out of 600 offer letters I've issued, only 500 have joined, let's assume. Then my cost matrix changes again. 6 lakhs divided by 500. Then like this, my team has gone to multiple colleges. After 3 years, I will ask a simple question to the HR. Of all the 15-20 colleges you have recruited as a campus hires, which college is giving me the best output? When I say output, when the students are onboarded and once they perform, every quarter or year or half year, we have these appraisals basically. So when I take the employee appraisals Of these 500 who have been accepting the offer, if all 500 students are getting an average employee rating of 9 plus, I'm the happiest soul on the earth. But if I go to college B, the average higher employee rating is 7. College C, average average rating there's 5. So I need to prepare a matrix now, basically. Cost of employee onboarding, offer accepted with employee rating. Then it's a human tendency. A dil mange more. I will put one more proposition. Now, yes, we are having good from college here. And my cost is high. I never mind for that. But for how long they're staying within my organization? That is where my analytics comes into picture. That is where I need to use my statistical tools and models, where I can take a regression analysis basically. If my ratings are very high for the campus recruits in the first 2 years, and if the turnaround period or my attrition rate with them is 80%, then my training cost is going up. So that gives my another food for thought process basically. So do I need to go to colleges where my cost of offer is moderate, where my employee rating is also moderate, and where they're staying for a longer period? Or do I need to go to colleges where my cost of hiring per employee is okay, high, but they're retained in the organization for a longer period of time, but their productivity is very less? That is where my decisions can be taken based on the data what we have. So this matrix, if I need to implement it, first thing is lack of data, which anyway, which will be part of the future discussion also, but I'm discussing it here also. So I need to start capturing the data. First, arrive at my cost. Then I need to arrive cost per offer. Then after 2 years, what was the employee ratings there for the average ratings? Then the retention. Again, why do people, employees stick to an organization? Because of the hikes we give them. The percentage of hike. How many parameters are getting added now to take one simple decision after 4 years from which college I should recruit more number of students? There I can start using my R factor or P analysis. Various statistical tools are there. Which is the best? We need to take it basically. That is one example. Then the next one is effectiveness of training. Now today we are having this session with the noble cause and intent of all the organizers and the speakers is that the students have a lot of takeaways. How do we measure the effectiveness of training? Many colleges, organizations implement the ratings for the trainer or the faculty or the speaker. But for the next year, if I want to do this, let us assume that next year there is no COVID and we are having this event offline basically. That means I am coming to your college and I am addressing the session. Now, the first question which the management will ask is my previous event effective for the students? How do I measure that? That becomes the challenge for me. See, here an organization here can be a college or a university. And training, effectiveness of training. So how do we measure that basically? It's a simple test what we have it basically. What we do is we give a set of questions before the training. we take the score from each participant. In fact, I wanted to do this, but because I was not getting time, I could not share this questionnaire basically. Subsequently, after the training, again the same set of questions are shared with the participants, and then their scores are compared, pre-training and post-training. If the scores have increased, that means that there is a positive impact. If the scores have reduced, that means the training is not providing the intended or meeting the intended requirement. That is at one level of doing it. Now that is at overall level. Now 14 days, 14 different topics. So let us break down this into 14 different topics, evaluation, pre and post. So for which topics the students have gained a lot of knowledge. So that will give me insights for the next year to plan and hold more sessions in that area. Maybe blockchain, because that is the hot cake in the market. Because students' mentality or the students' mindset, if you see it, if I learn this, I'll get good placement and I get good salaries. So let me be more careful and listen to these training programs. So this is how we can measure the effectiveness of training. The next one is effectiveness of lateral hiring. So in an organization, we have all mix of employees basically. We have experience, mediocre, and then freshers basically. Now when it is the middle management and senior management, we call them as lateral hires. So when it comes to the lateral hiring process, it can be like this. Time required for filling up a particular position after the indent or whether after the request is given by the hiring manager. Then comes, what is the cost involved in that? Then comes, what was the previous employee's salary compared to the new employee who was taken in the lateral hiring? Now it goes to the next level basically again. If you recruit from which company where you don't have the requirement of reskilling the lateral hires. So if I take from company A, they can be on the job directly on the day one of their joining the organization. If I take from company B, I need to retrain them or reskill them basically for 1 month's time. That is the cost. Again, here the cost is multidimensional here again basically. One is the salary cost of that new lateral hire, cost of the trainer, cost of the HR for coordinating the training program, cost of the facilities and establishment. That is why I'm using the word multi-dimensional cost is involved here. So that will give me an indication whether I should go for lateral hire or should I groom my employee from a lower level to the medium level, mid level basically through a series of training programs right from the beginning. That is what we call the succession planning in the HR terms basically. Why many organizations fail? Because they don't have proper succession planning basically. If succession planning is not there, if the employee leaves the organization or the project is going for a toss, that has to be avoided. See how it started the effectiveness of lateral hiring, but what are the areas how it can be covered and addressed. Then comes my performance management, talent management, turnover ratio, then my employee productivity, employee succession planning, directly or indirectly, everything is coming here for me there basically. So you need to grade it as effort in 3 terms basically, 3 buckets: high, low, medium, and impact on the organization or the HR function as a whole. Impact, high, low, medium again. Once you have this, prepare a table like this. It's again a pivot. I'm not using any softwares for this basically again. Now the decisions I need to take. High effort and low impact, or high impact and low effort, or both highs or both lows. That is where your matrix can be prioritized, basically which task to take first. So there are multiple areas in the organization, and basis on that your priority has to be defined and it has to be implemented. Today when we go to a hotel and eat food, right, when we order, do we order the starters, the main course and the desserts in one go? No, right? Because we cannot eat all together. On the table we may have 15 dishes, but we have only 2 hands and 1 mouth. So we prioritize. Yes, first we'll go for this dish A, dish B, dish C. Let's go and hit the starters, then the main course, and then the desserts. Same way in the organization, prioritization has to be done, which needs to be addressed first. Once that is done, then it is a successful implementation. Then comes my implementation, basically. Once I get the management blessings, I prioritize my matrix. Then implementation is the next key challenge in the HR analytics role of this. If you see here, symbolically, I have given that it is a team effort, not an individual effort. That is why I given it as a 4 hands here, basically. If I remove any one hand, will it be possible for me to implement? No. So if I need to implement anything based on the prioritization, what I have done for the matrix, I need to see whether data is available or not. Because in the today's world, HR, what data is HR having? Employee number, employee date, date of joining, qualification, past experience, current salary, previous performance rating. Which department, when did he get the last promotion? And what are the trainings he has attended and how many leaves he has taken. With this set of data, can I implement HR analytics? No. That becomes a challenge for me. So whatever business matrix you want to implement it based on your prioritization, first you need to go and identify what data is available and what data is required. Now we have seen that HR recruitment, campus recruitment, right, in that small example. Instead of going for all 4 elements of the data together, let's start with one element. Once the data is available, then go for the second element. But again, data collection is very key and essential. So you need to take a call whether you want to collect all the data in one go. If you need to collect all the data in one go, do we have a requisite software? Who is going to enter the data? So all these challenges comes in place for us basically. And for implementing this, do we need to do it with the in-house HR team or the various teams drawn from various functions, or do we need to outsource it and give to a management consultant like us? That also has to be taken very conscious decision. And whatever decision has to be taken, communication is vital. If communication does not happen on time, it can cost a bomb for the organization. Support from the line managers will be not there. So they have to be taken into confidence, and it can be done only through communication at appropriate time with appropriate information. So here we may not disclose everything. A simple example I can give you, which many of the organizations have already implemented in the sales teams basically. What is the role of the sales team? The salesperson has to go to clients, meet them, especially in the FMCG and the pharma sector. And the sales team are paid travel allowance basically and dearness allowance basically. and for that they have to submit a expense claim form at every periodic intervals, basically maybe monthly or fortnightly, whatever is that periodic interval. Now a farmer representative has a minimum 10 calls to be made in a day. Now, how do you measure and how do you validate that that particular representative has done 10 calls in a day or not? So for keeping track of the sales, now we have CRMs in place, basically, like Salesforce is there. Now what they've done is, the Salesforce mobile application is given to the sales rep, basically, or the sales representative. The moment he goes to the doctors or the pharmacy or the hospital, he needs to log in. That will capture the geo coordinates, basically. Number one. Number two, he has to take a photograph of the location, basically with the name of the client or the doctor. That will be having the timestamp. Number three, a photograph with the person whom he has met. See, the data which was there for my travel bill submitted has been transformed to a mobile application, and I'm having more precise data now. Now with this data, I can decide whether 10 calls can be done by a salesperson effectively or not. Previously, all my sales representatives were telling me that they've made 10 calls in a day. But the moment I started rollout of this Salesforce application, mobile application for geo tracking and all these things, I'm able to see that only 8 to 7 calls could be made in a day. That means I have given high expectations and I'm putting more pressure on my sales team. So I need to reduce the number of calls that have to be made. Now what will happen when the number of calls gets minimized? Why I'm doing it? Because of the data I have, basically. Number two, the employee satisfaction goes. That is nothing but employee engagement. I'm using this data to engage with my employees and change my decisions indirectly or directly. And I'm communicating them, going forward from next quarter, you need to make only 7 calls in a day. The motivation levels will improve, basically. When they go, the sales rep goes and talks to the pharmacy or to the doctor, his pitch will be more effective and productive. And that can be compared with the sales number, what we get it down the line. It's again, we need to take that 80-20 ratio, basically. 80% of the revenue should come with 20% of the task what you deliver. That is what I believe in, basically. I cannot spend 80% of my time for garnering 20% of my revenue. It's not a cost-effective model, practically speaking. No management accountant will agree for this reason, for this ratio, or even a management will not agree for this. And for doing this, like the Salesforce, what we discussed, technology is required for the CRM side, basically. Now for the HR analytics side, we also need to have a software. Now, when we say software, that comes into picture, whether is it for capturing the data or is it for analyzing the data. First, we need to go and start capturing the data. Once we have the data, then analysis can be done. Today, you have Excel sheets which have a lot of functions. And it is very easy for me to do my regressions, basically. Gone are the days when I was a kid, I used to do regression calculations using piece of a paper and pen. Now if I give the set of data and click on the data analytics and then click on the regression, the values are thrown out for me in fraction of a second. Or you can integrate your current software once data is there with the data BI tools like your Power BI or Tabula, basically. So that is what the call you need to take it before implementing it. How you are going to capture the data, which software you are going to use it. Then the next one comes my measurement basically. Whatever the matrix I've done, I have implemented it, whether it is giving me successful result or not. That is what I do, keep measuring it basically. I've just given a random screen here basically. 3 matrices I've taken basically. And then I'm comparing it for year on year basically. 2019 to 2020, I could see an improvement in all the 3 matrices which I've taken. From 20 to 21, I could see further improvement. Yes, that means whatever we have intended to do that, it is going in the right path and direction without any hindrances basically. Or whatever is coming, that is being resolved in a very smooth manner. So measurement of things what you have defined is also very important. Then comes review and conclude. So once we have the data, we need to take and ensure that whether it is giving expected results or not. If not, tweak the strategy and see whether you are able to take some effective business decisions. If any changes are required, go and revisit the data structure or the analytics or the business questions, and then you can see the results. So this is how we could see, right? I could see a cup, end of the steps there basically. That means my mission is accomplished. Once my particular task is completed, I can go to the next task. Because here in the matrix what I have defined here, I have defined 10 set of parameters randomly. So first one is over. I go for the second, third, based on the decision making matrix which I have given here for the prioritization. So if you want, I can share you this Excel sheet also. I'll share it with Mr. Rakesh Ji. He can share it with all of you basically. Then in what all areas I can implement HR analytics? And if you see here, I've given multiple points here, and we have discussed many of the points here already here basically. Like my cost of retention, employee revenue per employee. We have seen that Salesforce implementation, right, through the CRM. Effectiveness of training, average time for hiring, cost per hiring. What is my attrition rate basically? And it will also give me cost of HR personnel per employee. See, when I derive my employee C2C basically, that is what the employee sees it basically. That is the direct cash outflow. But from an organization perspective, I need to see cost per seat also, or cost per employee from HR perspective, from management side is totally different. Because it involves the time spent by the manager, by the team leader, by the HR, and various other line managers basically, or line employees basically. So even that cost has to be added for me. Then this analytics will also help me which employee is likely going to leave the organization. Because one, we have seen in the initial discussion that using AI in my ATS system basically. Number 2, based on the matrix what data I have already received and analyzed it basically. And a simple thumb rule what we have is in IT companies, if an employee is working for 3 years, most probably he may leave it. More than 5 years and he'll be for 10 years. If he's spending more than 10 years, then you can assume that he'll be forever basically. So that was based on the gut feel. But now I have the data. Once I have analytics in place, I have data for me basically. And there is also cost involved for me for getting various softwares for me, or a particular software. What is the ROI for that? It should not be like penny wise and pound foolish. And today, there are certain companies where they're taking the competitor companies as a training ground basically. Because once you start analyzing the employee data who's in the organization, in the exit interview process, some of the employees tell basically where they are joining. In case if they don't tell, subsequently the HR can get the data using the LinkedIn or any social media platform where that particular employee has joined. The HR can collect all such information and see the employees leaving the organization or joining which organization. If 80% of the employees are joining organization A, then it is a serious problem. Until I have that data, I cannot take this decision, right? It's like that, ठीक है, employee has come and he has left. That is a normal course. But if majority of your employees are joining a particular company, you can analyze it once you have data. Now you have identified that company A, they have joined. Now the HR team and the management has to probe or investigate why they have joined that particular organization. Is it because of the work-life balance? Is it because of the pay? Is it because of the work culture? Is it because of the employee engagement? Or is it because of the perks? Or is it because of the retirement benefits? Or is it for the growth? In one of the organizations where I'm engaged as a management consultant, they have done a very beautiful thing. They're an NBFC basically, and when they started in early 80s, they started with only one employee and it started growing, and today they're more than $1 billion entity. And in the process, the turnover of the company has increased, and at a certain point of time, the management has realized that the senior employees are leaving and joining the competitors. They have started analyzing why. They felt that because there is no room for growth. Now, in an organization which is having 10,000 employees, there can be only one managing director, right? At most, you can have a joint managing director. But if an employee has spent more than 15 years, 20 years with an aspiration or intent that he will become a managing director down the line, but now there is only one managing director and the employee base is increasing and the business is also increasing, that is a very good to have problem. But from a management perspective, every problem has to be resolved for success of the organization. Now, what could be done in such cases? Now, a typical HR answer comes as job rotation. A general manager, next position is, or a vice president, next position is managing director. If I do job rotation, the managing director will be promoted to vice president. Will he agree? No. So after 3 years, if I tell him that after you serve 3 years as managing director, tata bye bye. So everybody will have a threat in their life, in their mindset. Okay, if I become a managing director, within 3 years, I have to quit basically. That means I need to start looking for alternate employment. Why wait for become a managing director and wait for 3 years rather than look for an opportunity now itself? That's a human tendency. If I'm in his shoes or you're in his shoes, the same way the mindset works. Then what they've done is, like you have telecom circles, right? Each state is given a telecom circle. Same way they've created legal entities state-wise. That is how the number of managing directors have increased in the organization and employees were able to be retained, but that is coming with the cost of extra compliance. Now there will be disgruntled souls basically if they don't get promotion after 5 years or 10 years. In a casual chit chat within the friend circle or in the organization, he's not getting promotion for last 15 years or 10 years or 5 years. It may not be because of his underperformance, but because of the organizational constraints. So that is where we need the HR data, and HR comes into picture with all this. This is something called out of the box solution. But you are able to sense it, the mid-level employees are leaving the organization because of this particular reason. The HR can provide the data, but based on that data, the management has to take a decision. And sometimes these out-of-box decisions are possible only because of data. Data never lies. It always speaks the truth, whether you like it or not. So these are the various areas where HR can implement analytics. I have given you the gist of it. This is not the limited. Based on the organization, based on the geographic location, based on the ethos of the organization, requirements, the list can be exhaustive. This is only illustrative in nature. And what are the benefits? Data-driven decisions, better employee engagement, minimizes cost and time, and they're proactive rather than reactive. In today's world, we have to be proactive rather than in a reactive mode. And challenges, what we have already discussed in the discussion, basically throughout our discussion, data is the key challenge here basically. And support from the leadership team. And another big challenge is in-house talent is not there for implementing analytics in the HR. And many a times there is lack of clarity in the organization. The management asks, give me the cost of hiring cost for employee. The HR says, sir, you give me analytics and I can give you the information. There is a deadlock basically. Nobody takes a step forward and try to sit and convince and take a conclusion that if this system is there, then I can give you the data. This especially happens in the conservative organizations basically. So the attitude will be, when you cannot give even this much, then why do you need to have some additional investment in the HR analytics process basically? So that becomes a challenge actually. And if you see here right today, the HR does not have an common platform basically. The learning management system is sitting in a separate server. The talent management and performance management are done in a different software. The payroll is done in a different software. And that data is not interlinked together basically. Everything is scattered. So that is where data warehousing comes into picture. Once we have data, then comes the role of visualization basically. That is, I can run my analytics basically or represent it graphically for effective understanding. And for that we have tools. Excel can be used initially, and if you want to go for high level, you can go for BI tool basically, Power BI, or you can go for Tabula. And I would recommend all of you, since you're the younger generation, your adaptability, learning curve is at a very, very aggressive pace. Pick up any one of these tools basically. Because whether you work in finance department or whether you work in HR department or whether you work in sales department, you need to analyze loads and tons of data. And using these tools, your job will be smarter, simpler, and more effective. So start learning any of these BI tools if time and conditions permit. And here I've just given a gist of it. If it has to be successful, you need to identify what is the business problem of the question which you are addressing using this analytics. Once you have a clarity on the business problem, like suppose my employees are leaving basically, why are they going to competitors? And who is the biggest competitor where majority of my employees are going? That is my business challenge. Analytics. I create dashboards at the time of exit interview, post exit interviews. If I don't have data, then I identify basically. Then I take an action basically. So business problem being addressed, analytics and actions. If actions element is missing, then implementation or rollout or adoption of HR analytics is a drain basically on the organization. The efforts are going into the drain. So actions are key. That is why I given it in red, amber, and then green. If any of these three elements are missing, then it cannot be implemented effectively. And once I do that, my dollar dreams comes into picture. Because we are talking HR as a profit center rather than a cost center. So this is about my introduction, and these are the books which I have authored. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take it. I'm not sharing much on the tools what we use it basically, though I have used a lot of the tools in my previous sessions and experiences while helping the clients to come to a concrete decisions. A gentleman has raised a question, who or she, I don't know. Can you please unmute yourself and answer? Please raise your question. Or you can type it in the chat window also.
So dear participants, you can post the queries in the chat box.
Or you can reach out to me also. I'm sharing my coordinates.
Hello, sir. No questions exactly. So we were throughout listening to your session. In fact, I just want to put forward a point that the session, the way you took it forward, no, the flow was excellent. That simple and modest way of explaining things, no, the way how we explain to our students, no. So that was maintained throughout. So I was very like it was a wonderful presentation. So this I wanted to just bring to your notice, sir.
I'm really honored, ma'am, for such kind words actually.
Yeah, thank you, sir. No, because sometimes we, like, sir, Rakesh, sir, can I?
Yes, ma'am. Please proceed.
No. Sometimes like this data analytics, when we are talking about, it is majorly the task of HR or R&D team, sir. Like,
see, I'll tell you again, who will do that job, who will build the cat is important for us actually. See, if you ask me, when the ethos of the organization are changing because of the global requirements, there's nothing called R&D team today basically. What is the role of R&D team technically? If I see it, they need to come out with a new line of service basically, or new products. Why will they come and work for the internal organization basically? So every department has to run the analytics on their own, because if I have an analytics expert who is from across all the departments, a HR guy has more idea on the HR operations. I cannot put a sales analytics guy in my HR operations. So it has to be an in-house team. Or you can have a department for analytics where you have competent persons from each department basically. Again, that will become the cost center or a profit center. That's again a separate story. And
yes,
still the organizations are adopting all these things basically. So there is no hard and thumb rule whether it has to be a centralized department or the individual. skill sets basically. For him, the skill set required is go and talk to the customer, get an order, right? Now, when you go to the next level in the organization hierarchy, the additional requirement of the skill set is communication. He should be empathic towards his subordinates. If he's a good salesperson basically, but he does not have good communication skills, is not empathic towards his employees, can he be promoted as a sales manager? If I take by virtue of the numbers, it can be done. But if I have data, when I have a 360-degree feedback, how he is interacting with his employee colleagues, how he is interacting with his co-worker or co-departmental people, when it goes to the next level basically, at a strategic level, like a VP sales basically, his vision should be more which areas he should get in, what should be the product mix, what should be the pricing. So that strategical thinking is required. So the skill set required for all these three roles what we discussed is different. When we do a 360-degree feedback, we gather all this information, based on that identify the person, groom him so that he can be put in the succession planning list basically. So that can be taken, sir. Yeah, they can be inducted. But see, it's a simple example, right? In normal Hindu culture, right, we have marriages, right? When a daughter comes into the new house, can she adjust overnight? It takes time. Similarly, when a new senior person comes into the organization, it takes time. But in today's competitive world, it becomes a challenge. So many of the Western countries today, they're talking about more succession planning at the senior positions rather than getting people from the outside the organization.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Any other queries?
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sir, I would like to ask one question, sir.
Please.
Sir, which things we have to need to add into our curriculum in HR courses?
That's a $1 billion question. If you can give me some time, I can share it with you basically. See, I'm telling you based on my practical experience. I never gone through any HR book or something like that. During last 2 decades of my experience, I gathered all the things and started implementing it, all those things basically. Maybe if you want, I can give you a gist of the highlights basically. One is the traditional HR, and coming to the new age requirement HR analytics, where you need to discuss or you have a curriculum on how to identify the business problems basically. How to prioritize them could be one topic. Then how to gather the data could be another topic. Number 3, once data is gathered, how to do the analysis basically. Is it using the R factor, or is it using the regression test, or is it using the P test, or what are the various tools that can be used? So these are the 3 elements which I could think about on the fly basically, Usha ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Most of the concepts are being common to all. So that's why I want to need concept in HR courses, sir.
Right. What I can give you is, maybe if you can allow me a couple of days, I can give you some sample data where your students can use it basically. Or when you explain them, it will be more practical oriented rather than me, the way which I spent today is more theoretical side. But if I show some spreadsheets, open it, and then run the analysis and show them, that will be more effective actually. Because of the paucity of time, I have not taken that approach today.
Is there any variation between the personal management and HR management, sir?
Ma'am, the definitions are changing very dynamically today. See, the personal management, we hear it in the traditional brick and mortar organizations. And if you come to the new age in organizations, we call them as HR manager. Because the personal manager, he's dealing more with the line workers basically. They may not be highly educated, they may be skilled or semi-skilled. The way you talk to them, handle them is different. That is where the role of personal managers is more effective there. If I go to a line worker working in a foundry near a furnace and talk to him in a very polite manner, it will be different. I used to work with one of my seniors, basically is when he goes to the shop floor, he's a chairman for the company. He used to visit and call the employees. But in the corporate office, do you call an employee by blowing a whistle? No, right? He used to put his fingers in his mouth and say, blow the whistle and call that employee. So people get attracted. The way the personal manager works and the way HR manager works is different.
Sir, but then, sir, one more question, sir. Like, is it not possible to implement an institution like organization like what Vicar or similar has proposed, sir? Organization with no boundaries, no set of rules and regulations. So, is it not possible near time to implement those sort of institutions? Because I have studied more number of studies like Jack Welch and Jeff Imlett, how they transformed an organization with the help of culture policies alone. But then what sort of benefits that this particular HR analytics is going to give to us?
So this HR analytics, it is again data driven. So today if I need to take a decision, right, whether I need to give this particular employee as my part of my succession planning with the previous question which you asked. One is based on the instinct or the gut feel of the vice president or the president or the CEO of the company. But if I have this 360-degree feedback and data is there, when I compare it with other employees, then it becomes more effective for me actually. So whatever they've given at that point of time, that is correct. Now we are fine-tuning those processes basically. A change is happening in the organization.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Sharani ma'am, you can just mail sir for the recent topics on the HR. What is to be included in the curriculum, and sir will be with you in the curriculum updation on the HR. The main objective of having this session on this data analytics or how to use it for HR analytics is the talk of the entire globe is on the analytics. So where they are trying to fit in the analytics for all the business operations. So we thought this HR analytics would be of greater importance post the pandemic issues.
Yes, sir. See, it is pre and post pandemic, it is becoming very key for the organization, sir, actually.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You made the session very lively, and with your experience, you gave how to handle the human resource. And when you spoke about the difference in one of the answers, the personal management and the HR management, you hit on the nail. So it was a good day and a great day. On a weekend. So it's now time for Dr. B. Bharati to propose the vote of thanks. Over to Bharati ma'am for the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. A pleasant good evening to all. Gratitude is the sign of noble souls. It is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver vote of thanks for our 11th day of professional development program on recent trends in commerce, jointly organized by Srimad Andavan Arts and Science College Autonomous Trichy, Dwaraka Das Goverdhan Das Vaishnav College Autonomous Chennai, and the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. S. Shekhar, Principal, Meenakshi Ramasamy College of Arts and Science, Syndicate Member in Bharatidasan University, for his nice, spontaneous thoughts on human resources. Sir, you have covered all the aspects regarding HR and also HR analytics within a short span of time in a professional manner.
Thank you.
We are all inspired by great words, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Next, I express my heartfelt gratitude to our today's eminent speaker, CMA B.M. Gupta, Chief Taxologist, Hyderabad, for sharing his expertise on HR analytics for operational excellence. Sir, your session was very lively and you have quoted many live examples regarding HR analytics and mentioned about the benefits of analytics in HR and its implementation process also. You have created a good spark and gave a new insight regarding analytics in human resources and its scope. It's really noteworthy and amazing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Our special thanks goes to the higher officials, deans, head of the departments, faculty friends, and organizing committee, especially CMA Rakesh Shankar, for his unflinching support and coordination. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I extend my gratitude to research scholars and all the participants for their active participation. Well, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. We have been fortunate enough to be backed up by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues who know their job and are result oriented. I cannot thank everyone enough for their hard work to the completion of the task beyond their comfort zones. At the end, I express my thanks to all who directly and indirectly contributed to make this professional development program